Just picture this. You're one of the most controversial, slightly hated creative directors of a leading luxury fashion house. And despite all the criticism, being named in a $25 million lawsuit and have customers swear against ever supporting you or any brand that you are a part of, and you still manage to come out with the most trend-setting bag for the season, and probably a bag that will have lasting power to become a classic vintage piece. Well, that's exactly what Demna had done while at Balenciaga. The Balenciaga Rodeo bag is undoubtedly one of the most desired handbags of this moment. The Rodeo bag was named after Rodeo Drive, famously in Beverly Hills, California, and it was seen on LA socialites like Kim Kardashian, Lori Harvey, Hailey Bieber, Lindsay Lohan. It started to spread through the influencer space, and we started to see this bag more and more and more. And I think there was this gradual rise to popularity, and it is now probably the #1 most desired designer bag on the market. And it has been confirmed to be the most commercially successful bag from Balenciaga. Say what you want about the man, but he led that design team into perfecting balance with this bag, and I think that's why it is a trendsetter of the moment. It is gorgeous. There's this richness and suppleness to the leathers, but at the same time there's still this ruggedness, this everyday wearability to the bag. It has somewhat of a restrained, functional type of silhouette, but at the same time it is so gorgeous that it does stand out and it does attract attention, which I think is what everybody wants for this moment. The whole quiet luxury movement was not necessarily about people having things that no one else could pick up on. It was about having signalers, and that is something that I see the Balenciaga Rodeo being successful at, signaling that you have a luxury piece without having a huge blaring logo on it. And I actually spoke about this in a previous video where I shared alternatives to another popular bag. I'll link that video below. But I pointed out that this Rodeo bag will become the redemption of Balenciaga, and we are definitely seeing that. I think now that he's no longer with the brand, people are more easily able to separate the art from the artist, and they are leaning more into this bag. However, if you're one of those persons who swore against ever supporting this brand, ever supporting this man, but you do love elements of this beautiful bag, or you've been de-influenced slightly by some of the reviews from people who've had this bag for a few months or even a few years at this point, I have a treat for you, because in this video I will be sharing a few similar looking bags that I think were inspired by the release of this bag. But these bags are not dupes, they're not replicas, they are from other well-loved luxury fashion houses. Let's start with the Ciao Ciao bag from Bottega Veneta, which I think was Matthew Blassi's farewell, be well to a brand which he's brought much success to in his 3 short years there as creative director. The Ciao Ciao bag falls well within the brand identity of Bottega Veneta as one of those timeless, elegant bags that they are well known for. However, if you saw this bag from afar, if it was over someone's shoulder under their arm, you may mistake this for the Balenciaga Rodeo. It is the closest in silhouette to all the bags that I will talk about in this video. Have the same 2 compartments. They have this little flap detail that you can use to close the bag. There are the same top handle and strap options. They do also have very similar looking leathers, and both of them come in a small, medium, and a large. I will say, based on the dimensions that I looked at, the Ciao Ciao bag has a little bit of an edge here. It's a little bit larger and more accommodating therefore than the Rodeo bag. However, the Rodeo bag, in my opinion, is still winning because there's also a mini version, and this is definitely something that would appeal to a younger population or anyone who just wants a really quick, easy, cute little grab and go bag that's still very much functional. It can hold a larger phone, some lippies, your keys, a very easy errand bag. I think they both shine equally is the fact that these bags, the Chow Chow bag and the Balenciaga Rodeo bag, are both very much gender neutral bags. And that's something I absolutely love. So there is one for everyone. Everyone can enjoy this. Now, in the same way that Matthew Blessy left Bottega Veneta to head over to Chanel to kick up some ruckus, I will be moving on to two bags that I found at Chanel that I think are very similar vibe to the Balenciaga Rodeo. One that's already released and one that I'm hoping will actually make it into stores. So the first I'll talk about that was released for their fall winter 25-26 collection is essentially what they've just called a hobo bag. And they've described the creation of this bag as being inspired by playing with volumes and layers while still maintaining the codes of the luxury French house Chanel. We're seeing a quintessential Chanel CC turnlock. We're seeing the quilted patterns. There are the gold tone hardwares. And I still think that the leather on the Chanel bag is very reminiscent of the leathers used for the Balenciaga Rodeo bag. And that is where I really saw the similarities come into play here. Because it's really more of the concept of how the bag will function. So it is a gorgeous standout piece, but it's also an everyday functional piece. It is a pretty penny, and therefore I think this is a type of bag that would be, targeting the Chanel loyalist. This is the VIP client that the Chanel sales associate has on speed dial. This is the Chanel lover who just wants a bag to run some light errands in the afternoon, to grab and go when they need to do some minor retail damage. This is something I definitely would see in the upper echelons of society when it comes to an everyday bag. The next bag was seen as look number one in their recent Métiers d'Arts 26. I don't speak French, so it's kind of hard for me to pronounce, but the show that they just had at the subway in New York City, wonderful show, very, very interesting pieces that I noticed. But this was the first bag that went down that runway per se, and it is a classic Chanel flap. It's a huge bag. I think this might be considered a jumbo size, but there is this little bit of a slouch to it that kind of gives that hobo vibe that we are seeing with the Balenciaga Rodeo bag, and a few other subtle design elements that really shows that there was much inspiration taken from what is desired by consumers now who are looking at a bag like the Rodeo bag. Also, I'm very interested to know how we're feeling about Chanel these days. I think that a lot of people are complaining about the price increases repeatedly without the quality, but there's a lot of reinvigoration and inspiration in this space now that Matthew Blessy is there. And having seen these few shows that are already put on, I want to know how we're feeling about Chanel. So drop it in the comments below, and also let me know how you feel about this bag. Next up is Delvaux, which is a very underrated accessories brand, which is highly surprising now that I've learned this is the oldest luxury leather accessories brand in the world. I had always heard the name every now and then, especially during the whole quiet luxury moment we were having, but I hardly saw people with this brand. And it's out of Brussels, Belgium. It's been around for 2 centuries at this point, since the 1800s. And it has put accessories in the hands of royalties, princesses, queens. Some of our favorite entertainers or favorite fashionistas have been wearing pieces from Delvaux, and I'm so confused as to why we're not talking more about this brand. There's one thing I've noticed about the Delvaux pieces, and it's that they are not just luxurious, but they're very unique in their style. You're hardly ever going to find anything similar to what they have. However, I think this Tempo bag was inspired by the movement of the Balenciaga Rodeo bag, especially given that the most outstanding feature of this bag is this very subtle slouch leaning towards a hobo style. This bag can also be worn in multiple different ways. You could also wear it open in a similar fashion as the Balenciaga Rodeo bag. It basically looks like a convertible bag because you flip the top of the bag over, or the flap rather, over, and it reveals a different top handle carry. I just find this to be so amazing. Anything where I can pay one price and get 2 items out of, you have sold me on. And that's exactly what this bag does. And of all the features on this bag, the one that got me the most is this buckle detail, which is actually a turn lock. I absolutely love that. I love a little surprise. It's the best thing ever. And I love this bag because I know a lot of people are not going to either know about this bag or they're not going to get this bag. It is very pricey, but I think it's one of the best bags on the market right now, especially for those who are looking for bigger pieces, functional pieces that don't really scream designer. This one might surprise you, and it's actually a bag from Gucci. I watched a video recently of someone doing a roundup of the most popular gifts that were unboxed for Christmas, and among the teens, the most popular bags that were unboxed were from Gucci. And I was surprised because I kind of got the sense that people were over Gucci. Gucci was in kind of a lull period when it comes to their bags, but the teens are loving Gucci. So I ended up in a Gucci store to see what all the hype was about, what everything was about. But because I'm not a teen, I'm a little bit of an oldie, I was more attracted to what I would consider their quiet luxury bags. And I came across this bag, which is a hobo bag. And it does look like a classic hobo style, but it still gave me this inkling that there was some inspiration taken from the very popular Balenciaga Rodeo bag. In that it's an elegant yet functional bag, it's an everyday bag, it's an easy bag to carry. And when I actually looked at the description on the Gucci website for this bag just now, I felt such validation in thinking that, because that is exactly how they describe this bag on the website. So I think if you started to lean into the influence of the Balenciaga Rodeo bag, but you are a Gucci lover and you want to step into quiet luxury Gucci, into premium Gucci, this hobo bag might very well be your best choice. Finally, for this video, I want to talk about a bag from one of my favorite brands, which is Jacquemus. And it is the fanciest looking bag on this list, but I still think it has a few elements from the Balenciaga Rodeo bag. And it's called the Valerie bag, which is named after Simone Jacquemus's mom, Valerie. And it has an elegant structure. It is the most structured bag on this list, but it also has that slouch, which clearly is intentionally done. I think the slouch is more of a geometrical design. And it also has a top handle carry that you could also attach a strap to the bag to carry it over your shoulder or as a crossbody bag. And if you're viewing it from afar, it kind of does look like a hobo bag, especially in the larger size. And I've already heard Jacquemus lovers express their love for this bag. Those who've already had the bag, they're enjoying the bags. And I personally think the luster of this bag is really in the story behind the bag. This bag is a tribute to his late mother, and he worked with the best people to create this amazing campaign that was so moving. It was the first time that I ever actually connected with an ad campaign from a luxury brand, especially as a true mama's girl through and through. This was everything to me, and that definitely not only put this bag on my radar, but on my wish list. I'm also obsessed with this lock detail. I think it's kind of like a magnetic closure. I haven't seen the bag in person as yet, but it's like really hard for me to wrap my head around how easy it is to get into this bag. But I've seen people open this bag like nothing. And that of course shows ease of functionality of a bag like this, which is very similar to the Balenciaga Rodeo bag and what it wanted to offer in its design. And another similarity I see between these two brands, Jacquemus as well as Balenciaga, through these bags is that they are essentially maturing their look. But at the end of the day, you could pretty much see these bags being worn by anyone, which we've already started to see. And that's why I really love this trending bag. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you have any of these bags? Are you enjoying them? Are there issues that you're having with them? Until my next video, stay fashionably well and in good health.